Hey everyone, I'm Sam, and I help large practices and hospitals solve their telehealth issues, but not how you might think. I'm a physician who saw the benefits of providing care virtually years ago and wanted to make sure it didn't turn into the same complex and expensive health technology we've unfortunately become used to. So I went out and created my own solution that's now grown to serve the needs of large health systems and practices of all sizes. Today, clients come to me because they've made choices with telehealth that are just not working well for their practice. They're telling me that they're frustrated at using tools that weren't designed for healthcare or are just difficult to use. So we help them solve those problems, which means reducing the burden on administrators and providers so they can focus on creating the best patient provider experience possible. Here's a quick overview of what we're seeing needs to be done to get telehealth off the ground successfully. In terms of telehealth, we've identified 10 attributes that are important to creating a successful long-term telehealth strategy with the right solution. We've learned these 10 things over years of implementing. So these here will make sure the solution you implement helps you achieve your long-term healthcare goals rather than getting stuck. Listen on for more details of why you may need to switch and what it should take to do so. It's really not as hard as you think. One of the first steps is to simply assess your needs. Today, people tell me that they implemented telehealth recently in response to the COVID pandemic, and in many cases, they're using a solution that they're just not comfortable with and that doesn't seem to fit their long-term needs. If this is you, you're not alone. Understanding and knowing what's important to you is a great place to start. Do you want to focus on follow-up care or possibly set up a virtual urgent care? Maybe you want to focus on patient messaging and doing that virtually, or maybe it's all of the above. Making sure the solution you choose meets those needs now and in the future is really important. One customer we worked with, in order to make sure their staff was being used as efficiently as possible, needed to make sure that any scheduler in their system had the ability to schedule for providers who were segmented into different departments. They were having a hard time meeting this need through a couple of other solutions they were looking at, but we were able to find them a way to make that happen so the need could be met. Not having to compromise on some of your core needs is important to helping you deploy rapidly. And since then, they've been able to grow seamlessly. Another thing is it's important to prioritize HIPAA compliance. People at many large practices are telling us they initially adopted a consumer or business-focused solution because they were familiar with it and because they knew it was HIPAA compliant. The core competency of the solution, though, they realized wasn't healthcare. Making sure the solution you're using is HIPAA compliant, though, is a major item. It has to do with the safety and privacy of your patients and could carry severe consequences if you're not compliant. But even if the solution is HIPAA compliant, don't mistake that for the solution being effective. Many people we've spoken with have told us they adopted something that was HIPAA compliant but ended up making their life harder rather than easier. At one particular hospital system we worked with, the HIPAA compliant solution they implemented ended up being really complicated for patients, as the instructions they received to join visits included multiple steps that were too complicated for them to follow. While HIPAA compliance is important, it doesn't imply success by itself. It's important to understand that. We found an alternative option for them to switch to, which took a few days. It didn't consume time for administrators and providers, and it was really simple for patients. It's also important to understand that you have to focus on long-term scalability. We're seeing practices today that set up telehealth quickly that are meeting their needs immediately for today. But they're realizing that the solution that they've chosen isn't able to scale with what they want to do. Practices of all shapes and sizes are looking for more permanent telehealth solutions. Many initially adopted these consumer-focused temporary solutions but are now feeling some regret because it doesn't adapt to the nuances of healthcare that allow for long-term growth and scalability. This lesson became really clear during a recent engagement with a customer who realized they couldn't separate their providers into different departments as more providers started to use the solution. It prevented them from ramping up. And when we came up with a way for them to address this, rather than compromising, they breathed a sigh of relief, and all was accomplished in less than a day. They were able to scale and had a path towards long-term success. In healthcare, sometimes it's also important to think creatively because healthcare, as we know, is an art as much as it's a science. We must at times be creative and flexible with how we deliver care to our patients. Similarly, you have to assess if your telehealth solution you're using supports this flexibility, because you have to adapt to different situations, and so does your solution. Does it allow you to set up different types of visits, or does it allow patients to request visits? you want to also make sure that it accepts patient payments and has other functions to allow you to customize. At one large health system, they were having a challenge finding a telehealth solution that allowed them to create independent accounts for all their departments and groups that could function independently but still have oversight by the larger organization and administration. We're able to help them solve this issue without creating anything new because of the built-in flexibility we'd created in the infrastructure that we set up. While it may seem obvious, you want to make sure you're partnering with the best solution. Not every telehealth solution is great for every practice. Finding the one that works for you is important. When we look at a solution to meet your virtual care needs, you should try to find something that's designed specifically for healthcare, not retrofitted for healthcare. Many people initially adopted a consumer or business-focused solution that was HIPAA compliant, although it was retrofitted for healthcare, but now are feeling some regret because it has limitations to adapt to our unique healthcare needs. Don't settle for something that wasn't created specifically for healthcare. You may eventually hit a wall. This has made many people we've spoken with feel a bit helpless, unable to give providers the tools they need to be successful. Some feel let down by a solution that offered simplicity to start off with, but ended up not being scalable. And some feel stuck because they feel overwhelmed by the need to change and replace a solution. If you're going through this, switching doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a painful multi-month project and can be simple and quick. One story that we remember was a large multi-specialty group that we worked with, which was hit hard during the COVID outbreak in New York in March. One of their offices had to shut down. They were stressed and trying to implement a couple of different solutions rapidly for 50 of their providers. Their efforts were unsuccessful and ended up causing more confusion for providers and patients because they were having difficulty moving their appointments to virtual care. They ended up calling us and we were able to find a way to get them off the ground quickly so all their patients and providers could seamlessly turn what were supposed to be in-person visits into virtual visits. They were off the ground and running literally in a couple of hours with segmented departments and staff, transitioning existing appointments to future appointments into virtual care. Soon thereafter, they added almost 400 of their other providers, as well as 400 staff and schedulers in a matter of days. If the issues I've talked about today resonate for you and you'd like to discuss, contact us via the form on this page and we'll be happy to help. Also, check out our website at MediSprout.com or reach out to learn more about our complete white label solution. We can give you the complete telehealth infrastructure you need to be successful that can grow and manage with your own brand. We can't wait to speak with you and share our experience so you can launch a successful virtual care solution for many years to come. Thanks so much for watching.